at 87.5. We have increased from one quarter two to another quarter by 16.1. We have also shown you that we do have changes in the way in which we're operating as a result of COVID, and we've shared the detail of COVID interventions with the members. It's a different report that we shared with you. We have last week, when we discussed the risks and identified that there is an emerging risk that relates to the revised budget that has been revised downwards. And then we have also indicated that the annual indicators we are tracking, and in terms of our progress and our monitoring of those annual indicators, we definitely will meet the targets. If not, we will have to come back and explain why we hadn't. We don't anticipate a crisis. Thank you so much, Chairperson. That's the end of the presentation. Thanks for allowing me time, and thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mechawa. Members, I want to open for questions, for comments, if there are any, and recommendations. Otherwise, yeah, let's do that. Can I recognize hands, members? I only have the name of Mr. Bheki Radebe. Let me check again. All right. Yes, I only have the name of Mr. Bheki Radebe. Dr. Radebe? Okay. Umphile Mautwe and Mr. Moletsane. Those are the three names for now.
Oh, thank you, Honorable Chairperson, members of the committee, and the team of Parliament. I think first of all, a person would like to welcome the frankness of this report, the third quarterly report, plus the expenditure trends, in particular between 2018 and 2020. It shows that in 2020, we are really under a difficult situation as a country. So even Parliament responded in kind by the expenditure going down to show that there was a lockdown. The services have changed. But what is worrying me, Chair, on this issue is the Financial Management Office, which had an under expenditure of 10.776 million. With this good report, you can see that the performance is well. We had a good, clean report last week, which we dealt with here. How will this under expenditure affect, will this under expenditure not affect the performance of Parliament moving forward to ensure that this good work which is done by Parliament is not compromised? Number two, Chair, I'll go to this issue of the targets not met, in particular the legal and procedural advice targets, that one of 7 days. I think that issue of 7 days is very difficult. I'll raise a simple example. When we deal with the procedural advice, I think that we deal with this issue of Parliament, what's happening inside the House. When we deal with those things, I'll just highlight certain things which I'm very unhappy with, of which I think that the Secretary of Parliament must explain some of these things. Here in front of me, I'm having the motions without notice register of the NA dated 2 March 2021. And then in that register, there are two motions of EFF, motion number 18 and motion number 19, which does not indicate whether it complies or not. It's just empty. It's just empty. And then it does not indicate whether it is empty because it arrived late or it is empty because it was not qualified. But when you look at the other motion, that one of UDM, it's very clear that the FF Plus objected to the motion. That's why it was not read in the House. But that one of EFF is just empty. And then you go to the other one. I'll go to that one of the NFP. You know, when we deal with these motions without notice, they cannot instruct government what the government must do. They must respect the relationship between the various spheres of government. But when we looked at the motion of the NFP, it was clear that it was saying the House must instruct the authorities to stop all evictions from all state-owned properties until local authorities are in a position to provide residents with suitable or alternative accommodation. You know the implication of this, when it's a motion without notice, it means that the parliament must go and write, and when it's adopted by parliament, it means that it must be implemented. Now, you can see that how can we instruct the local authorities not to evict people? How can we be sure that those local authorities are going to have service sites? And then what is worse, it says that a state loan to build their own house. You find that it's also instructing government that it must provide a state loan for all the people, whereas it is not even on the budget. But when you look at that register, it's very clear that they said that motion complies. So it is not the issue only of being late after 7 days, not complying with that, but the quality of work itself. I'll make other examples. You know, during the State of the Nation address, one member in parliament said the president lied. A point of order was raised. Now one March, more than a month later, nothing was said, nothing was done. Last year, the issue of calling the members of parliament a Marcel was raised in the House. Even up to this day, nothing was done. Even the person who raised that thing defied the deputy speaker. When the deputy speaker said that he must withdraw that, he defied that. Up to this day, we have nothing dealt with that. So I think that, Chairperson, that procedural advice table which deals with that, it leaves a lot to be desired. I want to ask the acting secretary to Parliament, what makes the delay of these decisions to be so much? I'll make another example. Honorable Zulu last year was made to withdraw immediately when he said DA represents the racists. Not even the member. He didn't say the members of DA are racist in Parliament. He said they represent the race. He was made to withdraw on the spot. But you find that there is this inconsistency of application of rules. So I think that the procedural advice office is failing this Parliament. There are a lot of inconsistent decisions which are taken and a lot which are not taken. The issue of 7 days, that one is last year. It's 2020. Until now, it's still not yet resolved. So I think that the Parliament is doing a good job. But I think that it must be fair and consistent in doing everything it does. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Dr. Hadebe. Who was to follow? Umpile Mautwe.
Please take Msmoletsane. I'll come after him.
Msmoletsane, if you are ready, please take the platform.
Thank you, Chair. Let me welcome the presentation. I'm not sure whether it's slide 23 or 22 or 23, where the presenter spoke about the shuttles that are transporting the MPs. I just want to check. There used to be security that travels in those shuttles, but the security is no more there. So meaning that the MPs are only given the security when they are at their villages and at the parliament. When they are in between traveling, there's no need for security. What happened? Unless maybe the presenter can say that maybe there's a serious problem of finances, but I don't think there is a problem of finances. Why no more security in those shuttles that are transporting the MPs? Thank you very much. I'm done, Chairperson.
Chairperson Mabe, we can't see her anymore. Good afternoon anymore. I can't see her. I think the next person is Honorable Mautwe.
Okay, thank you very much, co-chair. I think the chair has been kicked out by the network. We're having load shedding here in Gauteng. Let me presentation. What is interesting in the first presentation that was done in terms of the spending patterns between December 2018 and December 2020 is that there's a massive underspending when it comes to travel, both domestic and international. It's very interesting, especially domestic, from 200 odd to 47 odd. So there's a huge saving that came out from that one. There's also almost half of what we spent in, actually the lot. We didn't spend anything if you look at the international travel compared to 2018. And I want to appreciate this comparison because it gives us a true picture of our spending patterns, like it was explained by House Baby there. But what I do not see here, House Baby, is the actual budget of this financial year. So you've got the spending of 2018, you've got the spending of 2020, but I don't know what was actually budgeted for 2020 for me to be able to say with no uncertainty that there was a huge saving, although I can say with the numbers, but I don't know the actual budget that was budgeted for. That's one. But also I think it speaks to what we've always been saying, that traveling to Cape Town is expensive, and it's you can't put a return to it. There's no return on investment because all ministries are here in Gauteng. So if you want to hold the minister accountable, the minister must leave the premises here in Gauteng and the department and everything and fly to Cape Town just to debate a 3-hour debate, when if all of us were here in Gauteng, we could just be doing that here. So I think we need to look at that, Chair, to say everybody is here in Gauteng in terms of the ministries. I don't remember any national ministry sitting in Cape Town. All of us are here. And for them to come to Parliament is to account to the nation on what they are doing and their activities. And really it's costing Parliament a lot of money to then bring them all the way from Gauteng to come to a 3-hour session in Parliament. Of course, we must not underestimate the 3-hour that we spend in Parliament, but the return to it, therefore. So I think it talks to our call as the EFF to say, let's have Parliament here in Gauteng. And maybe these numbers, also, we can compare them nicely if we have the same scenario of a Gauteng-based legislature. That's one. Two, Chair, it's interesting on the figures that were presented for the performance of this quarter as well, because you already see some savings that are coming out, budget not being fully exhausted. So I think it should send a message to what to expect in the next 2 quarters that are coming, because the reality is that COVID is still here with us, and we're still going to be having COVID for some time with us, with different waves, of course. So I think with this latest spending pattern, or rather the expenditure, it should give us a picture of what to expect also in 2021, the financial year 2021-2022. And we can then try to reprioritize, try to rearrange, and make sure that we don't sit with such huge savings when the money could have been redirected to do other things. And apart from that, Chair, I welcome the presentation. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mautwe. Cindy, is there any other hand? I can't see any other hand.
Good afternoon, Chair. No, there are no other hands for now.
Okay. Before I give back to Team Parliament to respond to the questions of the honorable members, I just want to comment on what Honorable Moletsane have said on slide 24, 27, where we spoke of the shuttle. One has to, I just want to ask, in terms of the shuttle, how does it work? Maybe does it work when it's we have this hybrid session because we have members there? I might be misinformed because according to me, we are still on visual. I just want you, acting speaker, to unpack the spending on the shuttle, specifically to say how does it work. On the issue that has been raised by Honorable Mauto, I think we as a committee and also as Parliament and government, we are on the same understanding, and I think Parliament has made a commitment, and as a committee we have made some follow-up last year as to say how far is this, because we can't just decide overnight. It's a process, but I think it's a fair question, acting speaker, to give progress in terms of that. But what I can say as a member and a part of the team is that there has been a commitment, an pronouncement by government. So I think that is that, and my apologies for joining late. And I think it's because of my situation, which I think all of you understand my situation. I'm multitasking to finalize my problems that I'm facing. Thank you. Acting Speaker, I mean, Seko promote, Acting Secretary, or receive and.
Yes, I receive, ma'am. And the latter question, I don't know if I understood you, Honorable Mahlangu. You were asking about the decision of the public service around?
No, on which one? On the issue of that was raised by Honorable Mautwe. I was talking about the Parliament moving to Gauteng, that there was a commitment, and there was a commitment. We made a follow-up last year on it. You gave us, I think we had the executive authority with you to give us a progress. What you can do is to give progress, because this is something that I think we all agree on it. But we also understand the situation that you find yourselves at, because it's something that cannot be done overnight, and it's only fair that you give members the progress support if you have.
Yeah, I would rather, because we've submitted to the executive authority the assessment and the socio-economic impact study that was done, and yes, I think it has got a lot to do with timing and the primary investment, injection of money into such a massive move. However, let me leave that to the executive authority, Honorable Mahlangu. It may be that what we could do, we will raise again with the executive authority that the Joint Standing Committee has raised this matter once more, and as the authority of Parliament, they will see how they address it. From administration, we've done our part. The report was given. It does indicate big challenges of primary investment. But let me leave it there. What I want to start off with is the let me actually say, I've got my colleagues on the platform who deal with the various areas. Chairperson, the reason they're on the platform is to assist in addressing some of these the matters raised. I wish to thank our members for the inputs they have made. I'm going to ask Ms. Beck, who's responsible for legal, to just clarify what Honorable Radebe raised, because that indicator doesn't belong to legal parts. What Honorable Radebe is raising is the extent to which the procedural advisors provide timeless guidance in terms of the rulings in the House. I'm going to ask Ms. Beck, Rashida, please respond to just that item and clarify it for us. Thanks.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairperson. Good afternoon, honourable members. I think what I need to clarify that there are two legal advice targets on the APP. The one resorts in the office supporting institutions, supporting your Chapter 9 institutions. So the target not achieved under Program 1 resorts under what we call OISD. There is a separate target on the charter that deals with legal advice provided within 7-day average that belongs to our colleagues in legal services. Generally, the advice is provided within 7 days from the date as requested. But we have a situation where sometimes there is more detailed legal advice that's required, where there is a negotiation of a timeline to ensure that we are able to do justice to the request that is submitted. Just on the targets on the procedural matters, I think that relates to the two houses, the NA and the NCOP. Perhaps our colleagues who's on the platform can address that one. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rashida. I think Honorable Radebe is also raising a different but very, very important matter. I do know that there was a time where there was a discussion on whether we do consistent rulings across the two houses. And the two secretaries were requested, secretaries of their house, Mr. Castle, who's not here, and Advocate Pindela, who's not here. They did apologize to say they cannot come to this meeting because of commitments. The executive authority had said to them, just do an analysis of the rulings in the houses, consistency thereof, and when this should happen. What we're going to do on our Radebe, much as this doesn't talk to the indicator we are talking about now, we need to pull out what you have raised, and we will definitely engage our colleagues, meaning that there has to be now a way in which our procedural officers do advise presiding officers consistently so that they enable them to make decisions that are consistent, notwithstanding the complexity of the matters as they arise. So I'm asking that we handle it in that manner. And of course, they will have to put together a proposal on how this can be dealt with at the right forum, even shade here in. If that is fine, I'm going to pass. Can I ask Ms. Zungu to clarify the question on the shuttles? Please, Ms. Zungu, on the shuttles and the security around that, as asked by Honorable Moletsane. Ms. Zungu?
Okay. Yes, thank you, Memijawa. Afternoon, honorable members. I just want to clarify that the issue of the shuttle services that we provide from the villages, we provide that on special occasion because of the transport from the villages is done by Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. So currently we do not provide security from the villages, but the security that we provide when we're doing the shuttle services, this is during the public hearings and the committee oversight when we go out with members of parliament. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. There's a question that was raised on the FMO. Honorable Radebe, the FMO, if we go to that slide, Honorable, you'll see that there are 3 asterisks next to their expenditure, and slide number, let me just go. Can we just display it, Cindy? I'll tell you what slide number it is. It's slide number 22. Slide number 22 shows FMO at a 14.7% at the end of the year under expenditure or savings. And then we have 3 asterisks there, Honorable Radebe. The next slide explains that the budget of FMO includes the 14.9 million for emergency procurement of COVID. So they haven't, in terms of their budget, this is an extra 14 million that is sitting there. So it's not anyway going to compromise the work they do, which relates to ensuring that our finances are done correctly, and we will maintain our clean audit. Amongst others, they are one of those pivotal people who have to make sure that there's no irregular expenditure or fraudulent expenditure. So the reflection of an under expenditure there, it's got to do with the 14 million that I was explaining out of that, and that we've spent 4.3 million to date, and this quarter we spent 1.8 million. So that office is fine, Honorable Radebe. On the matter that you raised, Advocate Pindela is on the platform now, as secretary to the NCOP. I want him to talk on, and I can say, I hope he is on the platform. Advocate Pindela? Yes, he is. And the question was raised, but it's okay if you agree that we can deal with it later on, around the manner in which we respond and address the rulings that are made in the House, providing legal and procedural advice. And this emanated from the service charter report that we provided to the committee. But if it's something that you didn't have the joy of listening to the question, we can proceed in the manner that I have proposed. Chairperson. Chairperson Mahlangu. Chairperson Mahlangu. Honorable Radebe, we don't have the chair now. So we don't have both chairs.
All right. Thank you. Acting Secretary to Parliament. I think that on this issue we just raised now with Advocate Pindela, I think that I'll agree with you that let's take the procedure the way you outlined it before, and then what you can do is that if there are still any outstanding questions you want to respond to, you can do it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Honorable. And the question I wanted to respond to, thanks very much, Honorable Maudwe. Indeed, we will provide you. There's a cost center sheet that was shared to the committee, shared by us and sent to yourselves. I agree with you completely. When we do quarter four, we are going to provide you with the breakdown of the original budget as allocated per division, the expenditure thereof by 31st March, and of course the unspent. Because as I indicated, the 140 that I'm saying today is sitting at unspent. It's 104 million, I think. The 104 million, but strictly speaking, yes, it is 104 million. If we take out the 16.1 million that we owe to the direct charges, which we hope that in terms of the FMPPLA, we have to actually, it's not hope, we have to get it refunded as a direct charge. So as we anticipate, that 104 million will definitely be more on our amount, you're right. We will look at what was allocated per division. We classify it according to the line items as we've started sharing that with you, travel and everything. We'll then work on expenditure to date because that is exactly the report that gets submitted to the AG. So there's nothing extra that we need to do. It's just we need to present to you. It will also help because there has been now an issue about, in the past, there being a budget council. Currently, what we're doing with submitting the reports to you after expenditure. What we want to do when we do the strategic plan with yourselves, with the proposed allocations as reduced, we are going to come to the committee to say, here's the percent, or here's the purse of what we've given as part of what we have to operate on or use to do our operations. The executive authority, as I said, will have to reprioritize. This committee will have to look at the strategy of the 6th Parliament and reprioritize and provide guidance because we as officials, we will put our APP and OPPs and say, for us to execute and meet these objectives, this is how much we want as allocation. However, budget revised downwards, which is a reality, we are going to come back. It will be against budget spent to date. And this means in the meeting, there should just be one item about budget and strategy review, as well as expenditure of 2021, 31st March, 2020, 2021, 31st March. We will do that. And I think we are in the right direction, because we're beginning to share with you specifications in the budget of Parliament, so that when vote 2 comes, this committee is able to say, is vote 2 indicating that your oversight, your public participation, your lawmaking will be compromised because it's been reduced? And if it is reduced, what is this committee going to do to assist? Because we're working with officials of Parliament, but at the level of members who hold the mandate of Parliament, we do need this committee to really engage with what we anticipate will be a reduced budget. And thank you, Honorable Radebe. I have covered all the matters raised by the members. Hopefully, there's nothing I have left out, and my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting Secretary. To the members of the committee, is there any question which is still you want to raise? I see Honorable Kalis is back, Jacques is back, and Honorable Singh is back. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Chairperson. No, I'm covered. I look at the report and I didn't fully follow the presentation. My apologies for that, although I asked for the report. I'm suffering with a terrible flu today, man, and I'll check the report and just make a written submission. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Is there any other member who wants to raise any question around these issues? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, gone. Honorable members, I think that we have to appreciate the work done by Team Parliament, and then we must wish them well in plowing forward what they have done. I think that these reports which we got here today are very encouraging, but the fact that they are still consistent with issue of guarding the resources of Parliament. I think that as this committee, we must always try to deeply dig what can be the dangers which can make them to falter. But as far as they've done up to this point, I think that the work done today must be appreciated. If there's no other question, is there anything, Cindy, which must be done before we can adjourn the meeting? Because I don't think that we can adopt the minutes today.
Yes, Mr. Radebe, we were due to adopt the minutes, but at the moment we only have 2 NCOP members present and we need 3 for a quorum. So we can defer that to next week.
All right. No, thank you, Cindy. Then if we cannot adopt the minutes, then let's defer them to next week. But what we must remind again, the next week we are going to have the sitting of the House from 10 in the morning. If this committee must sit a little bit earlier, it can be 8 in the morning. That will be fun, between 8 and 10. It will be fun, because in the morning, definitely, we are going to have this thing. I think there's going to call divisions even in the House. So I think that we plan carefully around that. Without further ado, honorable members and Team Parliament, you are appreciated for the work you've done today. Thank you. The meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to the rest of the officials. Thank you for your support.
Thank you very much.
Guidance. Thank you.
Bye.